Hey, it's Max. LEGO has released a new tram, so as seems to be tradition now, I've gone and bought it. This is now the 7th full-sized system tram that LEGO has released, and I'm starting to run out of desk space here. This new tram, from set 60506, is a quaint take from LEGO on a beachside tramway. It's a 2-axle tramcar with plenty of space for minifigures, and I would say it makes a rather good vehicle on its own, but with the 6 other trams, I think it fits in very nicely. Interestingly, this set comes with a turquoise brick separator, which is not the same colour as the tram. The tram is actually a medium azure, which works well in the context of the others, where no two are exactly the same. I think a fleet of the 7 of these trams would really liven up the streetscape of any LEGO city. The only thing missing is a tram depot, but that's up to you it seems. Constructing the tram was very enjoyable, and brought to light some unconventional tricks the designers used to bring it all to life. Starting at the top and working our way down, the roof is only attached by 2 jumpers, unusually placed near the centre of the roof, which I feel is a perfect evolution of those roofs with no stud attachments, such as on these previous vehicles. There are door rails sticking in along the inside to keep the roof from falling in if you press too hard, something I am definitely guilty of. It's a tight squeeze to get the roof in because it's sandwiched between the curved slopes on the top of the cab. It's not a unique problem to the set, as I've had similar issues with some of my own trains in the past with larger roof sections. In this case, I think it might lead to the roof bowing over time with enough play, leaving an increasingly large gap just behind the cab. One detail that I would have liked to see on the roof is a trolley pole or some other form of power collector. On every other tram there is always a pantograph, or in one case a gripper, as a means of power, but nothing so much as 2 golden domes on this spare roof, and those are probably meant to be bells. By some luck, the set comes with a fishing rod, which I've seen used as a trolley pole in some mocks, so there's definitely an easy modification to make here. In fact, I gave it a go, and in only a few minutes I came up with a design that only requires 3 additional pieces: a jumper, a clip, and a 2x2 tile. I've used an illegal building technique by squishing the fishing rod into the clip on an angle, but the spool on the fishing rod keeps it in the raised position and from locking into place. The visual gain from this modification is so great that even though it's technically not meant to be, I will absolutely be keeping it like this in the future. The cab is surprisingly tasteful, so long as you don't look at it straight on. What is that? A Cyclops? The side windows are angled without hinges. They are rotated on a stud, with a quarter tile at the top to continue the coloured stripe without any conflicts. I've used similar techniques on my trams in the past, but this is by far the simplest and cleanest design I've seen in a while. The front is jazzed up a bit with some fancy curves which make it look more polished. These sorts of curves, especially the ones around the bottom of the cab, are not something we've seen especially well integrated in the past on LEGO's rail vehicles, and in this case it makes it almost look like a boat. Unfortunately, it doesn't float very well in my pure Aussie water, but your mileage may vary. The interior of the tram has 4 bench seat spots for minifigure passengers, which just so happens to be how many civilian minifigures come in the set. There's a 5th seat up the front for the driver, with a very simplistic cab, just 2 lights and a lever. I think it would have been a nice touch and a great opportunity to add a conductor minifigure, something we are yet to see in a tram from LEGO. There's no cab down the other end of the tram for the driver, which begs the question as to why there's a single track terminus, but I am most certainly reading too far into this here. Speaking of the tracks, the set comes with 3 of them, but in what I think is a first for LEGO, none of them are the conventional track molds. Instead, we get 1 ramp piece and 2 re-rail pieces. The inclusion of the ramp piece is obviously for the play aspect, but the inclusion of the re-railers is a little bit less clear. I would hazard a guess that they were chosen over the regular straight tracks because they already come with a flush surface, eliminating the need to tile the tracks and removing the gap on the other side of the rail that regular rails would have. I think a boardwalk style finish here could have been really nice over the drab grey if they had gone with normal straights, but if it makes the set cheaper, which I hope it does, I can't complain too much. What certainly didn't make the set any cheaper was the line of triangular tiles creating a striped white line across the platform. It's a nice touch, but I feel like it's a little out of place for the style that this set is going for. Back to the tram, in another unconventional twist, the wheels are not the smaller tram type, present on these trams, nor the regular size type with the frame, present on these trams. Instead, they are the types of loose wheels you'd expect to find on a motor. What's puzzling about this design choice is not only does the set not come with any stock motorization, but I also don't see any easy way to retrofit motorization into the vehicle at all. As far as I'm aware, LEGO hasn't released an official motorization guide anywhere like they usually would in this case, so it's up to us to figure this one out. These Technic beams are 10 studs long, the same as the train motors, so at least LEGO has given us a head start. Between the wheels in the middle of the tram, there are these door rails that stick down towards the tracks. You might not think much of them, but to me these look like an attempted detail of magnetic track brakes, like you see on most modern trams, although not exactly in this way. I've used door rails to emulate them in the past, which is why I bring it up. As much as I love trams, I don't know every single one in existence, so I can't say if this one is directly based on anything from real life. When I think of a classic beach tram, my mind instantly wanders to Blackpool, but the trams over there don't seem to bear any influence over this set. To me, it looks like the designer took some mild inspiration from California combination cars and the LEGO Holiday Main Street with the design of the saloon and open ends, and the cab looks like it could be inspired by some Sydney trams with one large dominant window and two small ones off the side. Sydney would make some sense in relation to both classic and beach, since the most famous of the defunct Sydney tramways was the tram to Bondi. To further this theory, I've seen some Sydney P-classes painted in an extremely similar shade of blue, but that's likely just circumstantial. The rest of the diorama that the tram comes with has some nice yet simple terraining techniques and a cosy looking pier. Having another look at the stop, the striping does excuse the very grey track somewhat, and the rest of the concrete slab has some nice detailing around the edges. I especially like the fence here. The track terminates at a simple buffer stop, but I almost think it's a shame that there isn't some sort of provision to leapfrog the tram up onto the pier. Maybe that's just me though. As with the last tram set, LEGO has chosen multiple different names for it. There's the correct name of Classic Beach Tram, and the morally incorrect name of Classic Beach Streetcar, which, according to LEGO, is actually a train. And again, as with the last tram set, I've seen both names used in Australia. In the product description, LEGO uses the S word a total of 6 times, and curiously enough, the word trolley a further 2 times. At no point do they mention tram, but with train mentioned a further 3 times, it's a miracle they managed to stick to only 2 titles. Naming aside, one thing LEGO does seem to be doing well is packaging. This is the first set I've bought that's come with paper bags, and honestly they weren't as bad as I was expecting. They're a lot easier to clean up than plastic ones, and as long as you check thoroughly, pieces getting lost in them isn't as big of an issue as I would have thought. Another thing LEGO has been doing amazing at is releasing trams. Believe it or not, this is the 3rd tram to come out in 3 years. Yes, that's right, 1 tram per year for more than 2 years running. And if we go back just a few more years to 2019, we've had a grand total of 6. Although that does depend on your definition. Even if you just include L-gauge trams, 5 in 7 years is unprecedented, and I really hope that this trend continues well into the future. So that's the tram. I reckon it will make a great addition to anyone's collection, and it's certainly made its way into my top 10. I'd like to know what your ranking is though, so feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you love this tram as much as me, why not consider subscribing, or even chuck a membership in if you want me to afford the next tram LEGO releases. Massive thanks to Jay and Victorian Transport History for sticking with me. Thanks for watching, see you next time.